Hey there, Red Devil Nation. Welcome back for another Alumni Spotlight. Today, we are honored to have class of 2012 Dickinson baseball alum, Garrett Horan. Garrett, thanks so much for taking the time to join us today.
Yeah, thanks, Justin. I appreciate you having me, and looking forward to it.
So right off the bat, let's just jump in and just tell us a little bit about your background, who you are, where you grew up, and how you got into playing baseball.
Yeah, so I originally grew up in Princeton, New Jersey, and we had a great group little league team. Actually, one of my teammates on that team was Sam Baxendale, who ended up being a teammate at Dickinson College as well. So that's sort of where my sort of passion for baseball started. We had a great team there. My dad was the coach, and just loved playing. When I was 13, I moved to Providence, Rhode Island, and started playing travel ball up there. I had a pretty, integral coach named Idris Liasu, who was from Nigeria and made his way to Providence, Rhode Island. And, he had an incredible passion for baseball, and it was really contagious. And so, in those years up in Rhode Island, that's really where I kind of developed that passion and, spent every waking moment playing or thinking about baseball. Then I was a big Yankee fan growing up as well, and those were some great years for Yankees baseball. And I was, living in Rhode Island and Red Sox country. I was always forced to defend my fanship and things like that. So that's kind of where I developed my passion for baseball. And I had a really good high school program. We won a state championship, and just a great group of guys. That's where my interest for baseball came, and I was able to continue it as a career as well, which was obviously great.
And you mentioned in Providence is where you really found your passion for baseball once you started playing up there. Was that when you knew that you wanted baseball to be part of your life, not just in college, but beyond?
Yeah, for sure. I had always dreamed of kind of the general manager role as being like, what better job than to run a baseball team and choose who's on that team and things like that. So that was always something in the back of my mind that I was interested in pursuing as a career. And, I loved playing the game of baseball. And so that, was where my early passion lied. But, I think at a certain point during my collegiate or maybe even my high school career, I recognized that playing professional baseball at a really high level where I could make a living was probably not an option for me. And so, transitioning that passion and interest in baseball and finding a way that I could work around the game, that was key for me. And I was able to do that. So, that was great.
How would you say your liberal arts education really helped you pursue that passion? Knowing that you wanted baseball to be part of your life in some way, you had always thought about the GM role, and then you got into Major League Baseball. How did your education and the connections you made here at Dickinson help you get onto that path?
Yeah. So, to me, when I was looking at colleges, finding a small liberal arts college was kind of a point of focus for me. I just view the liberal arts, the value of the liberal arts education is immense. I think being able to get a broad exposure to a number of different disciplines, rather than being siloed into one or just a few areas, I think that's awesome. And I think, the emphasis on not necessarily what you're actually studying and more on developing and encouraging your ability and appetite to kind of continually learn. I think that's kind of a crucial aspect of a liberal arts education. I think the main focuses and the tools that you develop through a liberal arts education is the ability to kind of analyze issues and topics and effectively research those areas. And then, to think critically about those types of things. And then, probably the most crucial and most important is then to be able to effectively communicate, a point of view or a stance on issues, and whether that's through writing or orally. I think those are the skills that you really, fine tune through a liberal arts education. And at Dickinson, I was able to do that. And I think that you see in kind of the professional world that the people that are really effective at those three areas are the ones that really excel. And so, I'm very fortunate to have gotten a great education at Dickinson and been able to kind of develop those tools along the way.
Now in your professional career, what would you say how those tools have really helped you now in your role with the Major League Baseball head office?
I think being able to research and figure out sort of the strengths and weaknesses with certain strategies and things like that is huge for me. In my role, I work in the baseball economics and operations department. And so, we do a lot of the bargaining with the Players Association. We write and kind of enforce the transactional rules that sort of govern, things like trades and optional assignments and waiver assignments and things like that. And so being able to kind of also communicate with people, gather feedback on those topics from the various clubs, and communicate with them, that's also huge. And I think, having developed those skills at Dickinson was great, and it's certainly helped me along my career path.
In talking about Dickinson, what attracted you to the campus? What attracted you to the area and to Coach Hanson's program?
Yeah, so I mean, I visited Dickinson. I think it was either a September day in September or October. It was like a perfect day. The campus obviously looked beautiful. The other student athletes that I met during my visit were great. So right away I was struck with, this is definitely a place that I could see myself spending 4 years. I also had a good connection with Coach Hanson. He was a young Middlebury grad. He had coached at Stanford, coached at Davidson. So there was, he obviously checked a lot of the boxes in terms of like a quality coach that I was kind of looking for. And his parents were administrators at Dartmouth College, and they had some overlap with my parents when they were there. So we had sort of a family connection. So I knew he was, a good guy. And, he sold me on the program that, this is a new and developing program. It was his second year as a coach. And that, the kids coming in my year, including myself, could make an impact right away and really kind of guide the direction of the program. And that was huge for me at the time when I was making the decision. And another factor that played in actually as I was visiting some different schools was the ability to, and actually, the emphasis on being able to study abroad while also being a student athlete. Mm-hmm. I know some of the other schools, that was always a question that I asked of the coaches and the players and things like that. And you got the feeling at other places it was, not a suggested mode for student athletes, and it was just time away from the program. But at Dickinson, they pushed you to do that. And I ended up going to Australia with another baseball player, Ben Shiambi, and had an awesome experience there. We actually played on a club baseball team while we were there, which was a really unique and cool experience in and of itself. But so those were sort of the factors, and I thought it would be a great place for me. So,
and that's something that so many other alums who we have spoken to have brought up in their time here, is that opportunity to study abroad, experience other cultures, other countries. Why do you think that's so valuable to a young collegiate individual to be able to have those opportunities to go to another country, to experience other cultures and other people?
Growing up in the Northeast and going to a small liberal arts school, you tend to live inside of a sort of a bubble, and a lot of the same people that you're interacting with and things like that. So the opportunity to get out there and see something completely different, that's just something you got to take if you get that opportunity. You learn a lot over there. People are very similar to the way we act and interact, but there are, some awesome differences, and you bring a little bit of that back with you when you come back. And I think it only serves to kind of benefit the Dickinson community in general. Yeah.
And you mentioned that you got the opportunity to even play on in a baseball league while in Australia. What was that experience like for you? And the opportunity to meet other people and play the sport that you love while also taking an opportunity to study abroad?
Yeah, it was cool. We were the American college baseball players coming over, and baseball is not nearly as big in Australia as it is in America. So, we were some of the top caliber players, and so they loved that element of it. But it was also awesome because we were at a university, Queensland University. But this was a completely different group of people, and these are just kind of more traditional Australians. These guys were living in Brisbane, working in Brisbane, and so to get some exposure to that kind of life was awesome. So yeah, and there were some great guys on that team and some real characters. So we had a blast doing that.
And when looking at your experience here as a student athlete, being able to play for Coach Hansen, it sounds like you had a pretty close class here too. How did you guys cultivate those relationships both on and off the field? And why was it important to you guys to be close, not just as teammates, but also as friends?
Yeah, I think, Coach Hansen, just in general, he sort of created a really special environment with our program. He's a really good guy. He's not kind of the drill sergeant type coach. And he, always kept a very positive outlook on things. Whether we were struggling in our first few years, or when we really got things rolling during junior and senior year, the environment was very positive and kind of forward looking. We developed a really tight knit group, particularly our class, the 2012 class. I think we were the second recruiting class that Coach Hansen had brought in. We were a big class. We had a lot of really good players as well. And he created, a family-like environment. And he really kind of empowered his players to kind of take an ownership stake in the program and sort of guide it in the direction we wanted to take it. And so that was an awesome experience. When we came in, there really was not much in terms of organized lifting or off-season programs and things like that. And kind of taking the reins as even a young class early on, and developing a lot of those programs and kind of helping shape the way the program is now. I think that was just a really, rewarding experience for all of us.
Looking back on it now, what were those lessons that you guys took away? You said being young players, but taking the reins and starting to build that new identity and new culture for the Dickinson baseball program. What were the lessons that you took away as an individual, but also as a group that have been helpful in your professional career?
Yeah, I think one of the big ones is just that, the confidence to go ahead and do something like that, and not necessarily sit idly by and allow others to dictate situations, but, to have the confidence that you have the ability to go ahead and make those types of decisions and shape a program and kind of change, the way a group operates. I think that was a really, really powerful and kind of big lesson that we took away from Dickinson, because I think it was really kind of a special time for the baseball program and our group in particular. We had, I think the first year we may have had 8 wins. The second year, maybe less than that. But by junior and senior year, we had become a really competitive team in the conference. That was just a great ride to be on. So I think Coach Hansen did a great job to kind of shape that environment and bring us all together. And, our relationships did not end after those 4 years on campus. We're all very close with each other still. We have an annual golf tournament that we all try to make an appearance at. Coach Hansen schedules alumni baseball games that try to get down to on campus for. And even, our extended parents have all become quite close as well. Now you go to weddings of your former teammates and, your parents are invited and other teammates' parents are invited. So it's a really cool community and kind of a special bond that we were able to build. So that was really great.
And, speaking of alumni, why do you guys, as alumni, you go back for the golf tournament, you come back for alumni games. Why do you feel it's important to give back to this program?
Yeah, I think in general that's just really an important thing to do, right? Is to always give back to those that are coming next. And I think I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of really good mentors along the way, both on the baseball side of things and in my career. And so I've tried to make it a point to do the same and kind of give back as much as I can. And I think for me, my parents kind of instilled those values on me, and early on, they were very much involved as alumni with their various academic institutions, and it was really rewarding. They loved doing it. They got a lot back from it, and we were able to kind of share in some of those experiences. And so, I try to do that as much as I can particularly with the baseball program, and talk to, you know, baseball players or other students that are trying to get into the world of working in sports or working in baseball, and kind of provide whatever guidance, advice, or support that I can, because I do think it's a really important thing. And I think it kind of builds on itself. As people continue to do it more and more, it kind of, it grows. So
When you knew that you wanted to be in the major leagues and you wanted to pursue that as a career, were there certain people that you were able to reach out to through the Dickinson Alumni Network that helped guide you on your path into Major League Baseball?
yeah, it's actually kind of funny that from the Centennial Conference and Dickinson in particular, there are a lot of front office baseball executives that came out of those places. Andy McPhail is the president of the Phillies. He was a Dickinson alum. Jeff Kingston is with the Dodgers now. He's their assistant GM, who I now work pretty closely with. He went to Dickinson as well. And I think Ben Worthen, who was a few years ahead of me, works with the Phillies in their minor league department. So there were definitely a lot of Dickinson connections, and Coach Hansen, helped me put me in touch with a lot of those people. He also, helped me out with my first job out of college. I spent a lot of my summers playing baseball in various collegiate leagues. So when I left college, I didn't necessarily have the internship experience that I probably needed, and that would have helped a lot on my resume. And so, right after I graduated, I actually went up and lived with Coach Hansen's parents up at Middlebury, and worked with the athletic director up at Middlebury for a month and a half, and just got some great experience shadowing him, and learning kind of what it's like to run the collegiate athletic department. So yeah, I mean, the connections I've made at Dickinson have been invaluable to me, and people like Coach Hansen have always kind of helped foster those connections and develop them. So that's really been great.
When you look back on your time here at Dickinson, both as a student and as an athlete, what are the memories that you take away and will always cherish having worn a Red Devil uniform?
Yeah, it was a special time. It was 4 really, really fun years. I think from the baseball field specifically, sweeping Hopkins my freshman year, that was huge. And I think it gave us the confidence to know that we could really build this program into something, special. And then, all the times in Arizona and Florida during our spring training trips, I'll never forget those memories, and the times we had driving around in vans with Penner and Coach Goodling and Coach Yoder and Coach Hansen. And, we had some great times, and it kind of formed the basis of these lifelong friendships and relationships we have, both with our teammates, but also some of the staff and things like that. And so, those were great times, and I won't forget them. And, it was a really special time, those 4 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, Garrett, thank you so much for taking the time today and for sharing your insight and journey to Dickinson and beyond. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, Justin. I appreciate you having me, and thanks a lot.
You're welcome, and we look forward to seeing you back on campus when we're playing baseball again.
Absolutely. Fingers crossed for this season to to start successfully. We'll see.